Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Money and More Show. I'm Don Emmett, Managing Director of Entrust Associates, and our guest here, this is the Small Business Insights edition of the Money and More Show, and here at WCOM LP, Chapel Hill and Carborough. And our special guest in the studio today is Mr. Ken Ranby.
That's correct. Good morning, Don.
Of Chapel Hill Florist, owner and proprietor of one of the key floral distributors outlets in this booming college town. So welcome.
Do what we can.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us about Chapel Florist. How did you get into the floral business?
Well, it's sort of a roundabout way. Moved to Chapel Hill probably in 2001 now, and my wife, we lived out in Santa Fe, and I was actually in the art business out there.
Okay.
And moved here to town and needed something to do. My wife was becoming a teacher, and I was looking for a business to buy, and Chapel Hill Florist was for sale.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the story, how I ended up in the flower business.
Oh, okay. So with that, so you had an art background, so
I do have an art, well, no, actually. Similar to my flower business, I did not have an art background. My wife did. She was an art history major in college.
Okay.
We represented just one artist out in Santa Fe for 4 or 5 years. But the flower business here in town, turned out I really like it. So it's been almost 15 years now. So worked out well for me.
Wow. So tell us about doing business in Chapel Hill. Can be, I guess previously, it's an academic town, it's a college town.
It is.
Has had a reputation as not being the most friendly environment for business, but what are your experiences?
I don't know that they're unfriendly. I will say that speaking for Chapel Hill Florist, the parking situation downtown is a constant struggle. Okay. Where we are located down on West Franklin Street, between the 140 West project, which happened, I guess, 2 years ago, and now the current University Square. I'm not sure what they're calling that new development across the street from us. But anyway, between those two construction projects, we've sort of been surrounded with construction and work trucks and no parking for almost 2.5, 3 years now. So we're looking forward for all that construction being done, and I think it'll all be a great improvement around the downtown area and good for us. But it's been a little difficult the last 2 years living through it. Definitely college town. I mean, July is slow for us.
Okay.
We're always looking for things to do in July.
So, in terms, of technology and how, I guess, a lot of your business doesn't necessarily depend on walk-in anymore. So you probably have walk-in, you probably have phone business, and I would think internet business.
We do a fair amount of internet business and phone business. That's correct. It mostly affects our sort of wedding and event business, the parking situation.
Okay. The big ticket items.
Yeah, the big ticket items. They like to come in and sit down and talk to somebody, which, understandable. I don't know how the restaurants survive, quite frankly. We're right next door to a great little restaurant called Lime and Basil, and I don't know how their customers, where they come from.
Like I said, valet parking and such, but
I don't know.
Yeah, it is a challenge.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, that's really my only complaint, I guess, with the friendliness of downtown. Other than that, it's been great.
So if you broke your business up, how much would you say is internet?
Internet is big.
Is retail.
We're fortunate in the name of our business being Chapel Hill Florist. People search for that name, so it pops up a lot on the Google searches.
There are a couple of paid.
Yeah, we're unlucky in that
they come up ahead of you,
but then sort of sleazy operators.
But then naturally, I notice you're the next one up.
Yeah, but those other ones get a fair amount of the clicks, quite frankly, because I get phone calls from people usually wondering
where their
yeah,
stuff
why,
is.
why this doesn't look like what I wanted, and I had nothing to do with it. So I do hear sort of anecdotally about stuff like that. But in terms of the business mix, I'm going to guess probably 80% of our business is probably internet/phone, and then 20% is walking. As you mentioned, the walking business is usually the bigger ticket items, but still, yeah, 20%, 80% probably internet or phone.
So, in terms of a growth strategy, what are your thoughts for growing the business, or are you just happy what it is, or do you social media? What are
No, that has been something we've been talking about. Obviously, never really happy with where you are. Always trying to figure out things you can do to improve. And I think one of the areas we were actually just talking about the other day that I personally don't think we've been doing a good job, or we, really me, with is the social media. We do have a presence, Facebook, Twitter. I'm not quite sure how to monetize that into something that's worth doing. You can spend an awful lot of time on Facebook and Twitter and posting and whatever. I'm not sure how that turns into sales.
how do you measure?
Yeah,
how effective is that?
Yeah.
Can you point to?
So I don't know the answers to those questions yet, but that is definitely something that we're looking at, and probably is going to be where we spend some time in the next year or so trying to figure out how we can do that better and see where it goes.
The internet traffic, I guess you're probably a member of like an FTD.
Yeah,
or,
Teleflora.
Teleflora
Teleflora is the wire service that we use. Yeah. They actually do our website.
Okay.
So it's we have a few proprietary designs on there, but a lot of the stuff is Teleflora designs, and we do it that way because people will look at our website and want to send something to a family member out of state, and in order to have a florist in that state that will produce something that looks like what's on our website, we kind of use a standardized arrangement that Teleflora comes up with. Does that make any sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Because it has to be the same consistency across the board is what
right.
we're looking for. So whether we're sending it here in town or we're using another flower shop to send it to someone out of state, we like to be consistent.
Which is a question I always wondered. When I've ordered flowers, and full disclosure, I am a client and customer of Chapel Hill Florist. But historically, and having had transcontinental relationships, my bride is from Salt Lake City, Utah. I always like when I'm selling to reach out to a florist where I'm sending the flowers to.
Right.
So, how much is orders coming in from out of state for local delivery as opposed to local customers looking to have you? Hey Ken, can you have this sent to my in-laws in Seattle?
Yeah, we do that. We do a lot of business with the university, and they have accounts where we bill them as opposed to taking a credit card or something like that. So for people like that, we do send things out of state. I would encourage people really to call a shop in the town that they're trying to send the flowers to, rather than go. It's nice to go through the local shop, and if people know me, they're certainly welcome to. I'm happy to take care of it, but There's a wire service that goes in between me and the shop in Salt Lake City, for instance, and they take a little cut, and everyone gets a little cut along the way. And I think really, for the best value for yourself, you're better off taking the 5 minutes, Googling a shop in Salt Lake City, looking at the reviews, and then just calling direct. Well, that's an honest answer.
Good advice. I agree. One of my standing questions, and what your experience, speaks to a make versus buy scenario. Obviously, I'm in the business of helping people buy established operating businesses, as opposed to renting a storefront and going into the flower business, starting from scratch. Generally, guess, less risk, and you have an established client base and an established name. But still, a degree of risk, particularly, you not having come from a business or an entrepreneurial background.
Right.
So when did you know, or that was there an event or a time that you said, I got this, that we're going to make this Chapel of the Florist is going to work for us?
Well, if you've ever been in the retail business, I don't know if you ever feel like you've accomplished that. I bought Chapel Hill Florist in 2003. It's now 2017. So what is that? 14 years. Mm-hmm. And honestly, no, I don't feel comfortable ever.
Okay.
I've been between since 1998. I've sort of been working for myself, and I don't know that I'm ever comfortable. It's always something I'm worried about. Maybe that's what keeps you trying to think in new ways and how you can approach things differently and moving forward. Maybe.
I guess part of being an entrepreneur is not feeling too comfortable, or
no. I haven't felt comfortable in 18 years. No, I really don't.
And keeping that edge and keeping the ball in the air and trying to move it up the field.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. I'm lucky that my wife is a teacher or an educator, so
Mm-hmm.
She has a stable job.
Okay. In terms of human resources or people strategy. So I'm sure you have some employees that help you.
Oh, I do.
Do the design or I know generally you answering the phone, but
yeah.
I'm sure you can't do everything.
No, I absolutely cannot do everything.
How do you attract and retain quality people?
I am actually very lucky right now that we have a great staff. I don't have any design background or ability, for that matter. As you say, when you call, I answer the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I clean buckets. I do a lot of that kind of work. But no, I don't have any design ability. I have our head designer and sort of the general manager of the shop is Susie Tulowitzki, and she is fantastic. I'm lucky to have her. We don't have a lot of staff. I mean, Susie, me, we have a couple of other designers who help out on holidays and stuff like that. My delivery drivers have been with me for one maybe 8 years now. The other guy 2 or 3. So I've been really lucky with my staff. The crew I have right now, if they would stay with me for the next 20 years, I'd be thrilled. They're great. And like you said, I don't have any design ability, so I really do have to count on them. And I'm lucky right now.
Good stuff. So, in terms of advice that you've received over the years, but can you think of any real meaningful or business advice that has helped you?
That's a good question. I don't know that I've really gotten a lot of advice, and that might be maybe more function of my personality. Maybe people don't feel like I'm looking for advice. But I'm trying to think. Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I could use some. I'm open to suggestions.
You're open to ideas.
Yeah, I'm open to suggestions. Absolutely.
Just to turn that question around, if someone was looking to get into business here in Chapel Hill or start a business, and what advice might you might you pass on to?
Well, I mean, you alluded to it before about buying a going business versus starting from scratch. I've done both. I would definitely recommend, unless you've got, well, I guess you always think you have the greatest idea ever, but I would definitely recommend buying something that's going. Okay. It's so much less risky. You have a a track record, you have some kind of sales knowledge of the business, just much less risky. I opened some art galleries. We were out west at the time, and I opened some from scratch, and it's nerve-wracking.
I can imagine.
It's a huge investment, and it's nerve-wracking.
In terms of growth and/or the future, we talked a little bit about that. Would you consider the growth in Durham? Is there another outlet in your future, or what do you see in the?
Don't know. I'm not opposed to it. I have looked at some other opportunities in the flower business and decided to pass on them. But that's not to say that I wouldn't consider the right opportunity that came along. I think we talked about it a little. The big issue is staffing and being able to get the right people. I've had multi-location businesses in other businesses, and there's only so many places that I can be.
It's a challenge.
And talking about consistency over locations and stuff like that. So you have to have the right people to make it work. But yeah, I'd certainly consider something. I don't know. Expanding in the flower business right now might be a challenge. I think there's more closing than opening. But certainly something I'd absolutely look at. Yeah.
Well, we're drawing to the end of this segment. Ken's gonna stay in the studio for more of a free-ranging interview, second half. But we're gonna, before we conclude the Small Business Insights portion, why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with you and Chapel Hill Florist?
Yeah, sure. If you have any flower needs, please feel free to give us a call. Phone number at the shop is 919-929-2903. And as we alluded to before, not most, but a lot of our business comes from the internet, and that's Chapel Hill Florist Ltd. For limited, chapelhillfloristltd.com.
All right. Well, I'm Don Emmett, Managing Director of Trust Associates, and we'll be back after a short break.